okay, this is going to be about relationships. Okay, we're going to look at it from a macro and then we're going to get down to the micro. All right. So, the macro of the situation is this: marriage isn't for everybody. And certainly in today's modern age, because folks are not being raised to be husbands and wives, respectively. So, what does that leave? That leaves fewer marriages that should happen. Marriage is for a woman. She cannot be a wife unless she is already a wife outside of being an actual wife. What do I mean? Very simple. She has to walk, talk, think, and conduct herself like a wife, because what will happen if she's not, which we see all the time, is she will get into a relationship with somebody. And it doesn't matter how good or bad of a husband that person is. Even in the greatest of circumstances, she's going to suppress who she really is, which is not a wife. And she's going to covet and desire those aspects of not being in a marriage. And she's going to become loyal to her feelings because she thinks with her feelings. So, this is why you see a lot of the divorces that are happening today and for a while, where 80% of all divorces, especially in the black community, they end with the woman filing for divorce. I'm not even addressing whether it's justifiable or not, but when a woman is using her feelings only to think what she's designed to be, that's why she always needs to be covered, then what'll end up happening is she will actually convince herself beyond the data, the statistics, and the facts that this marriage is hindering her. And typically, if a marriage, the average marriage lasts about 8 years, go look that up. Then around year 5, she starts doing this to herself. She may have some staying power, but generally, anywhere between 1 to 3 years, she's already processing how life's going to be without, or the idea of what life's going to be without. And because she's not filtering it through logic, she's only thinking about her short term gratification of what it will be without. And that man could be providing, protecting. He could be benevolent to her. He could, within the confines of the will for his life, giving her access to everything he possibly can. And sometimes you have to say no to your wife, because sometimes what she's asking for is going to take away from the marriage, going to take away from the family. But in essence, if she's going to be loyal to her feelings. That's why benevolence is important from a husband, because you want to cater to her feelings in a balancing way, as I said before, without compromising your vision. Your vision has to come before your wife, because your vision is, if you are of some type of God fearing, is going to be to the will that the Most High has for your life. And if you get off track with that, and I'll use Solomon as an example. Solomon had so many wives and so many concubines, but what happened to Solomon was he got off track with God. What happened with David? David had wives too, but David got off track with God when he slept with Bathsheba, who was married to Uriah. So you see and you understand that even the Most High will give you grace and give you what the desires of your heart are, as long as it's orderly. So, as I was saying before, when we're talking about the foundation, the foundation is important. The foundation doesn't have to be the Bible. The foundation doesn't have to be the Quran. The foundation could be whatever it is, but it has to be a foundation isn't a foundation until it's leveled. And what is leveled is agreed upon, right? Because if you have a disagreement about the foundation isn't going to be stable. It's going to be shaky. So you have to agree to what the foundation is, because there are going to be times, and it's whether it's voluntary or involuntary, where a man or a woman, a husband or a wife, could get off track. If you've got a foundation, you've got something to go back and reference to and get recalibrated. Some of you that are, if I'm talking to you that are of the your foundation is the Quran or your foundation is the Bible. Well, let me just say, even if you're married, one is Muslim and one is uh, Christian, for an example. They both kind of came up with each other, so a lot of their principles and everything are the same. Even for the example, like the prophets are that are in one book is in the other. The Torah, the first five books of the Bible, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, those are in both books. So there can be functionality there, and it has shown that there's functionality there. That's why I don't understand why the two fight so much. But again, respect to whatever you decide that you want to do. But I'm just giving a base foundation, and both Muslims and Christians, which make up the majority of the world, can relate to this. There's four umbrellas. The top umbrella is the Most High. The umbrella underneath is the husband. The umbrella underneath that is the wife, and the umbrella underneath that is the children. What flows down is unconditional love, but what must flow up is unconditional respect. And what is unconditional respect? Well, unconditional respect is obedience. So, but we have a problem when we're talking about the dynamics of a husband and a wife. It's almost taboo to say a wife should be obedient to her husband today. But we have no problem saying children should be obedient to the wife. Or we have no problem saying man should be obedient to God, the Most High. No, it is the children to the wife and the man to the Most High. Yes, that's true. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. The only but in there is that the same thing goes for the dynamics between a husband and a wife. That unconditional love is supposed to flow to that wife, because even if that wife gets off her rocker, he's supposed to love her through it. He's supposed to be benevolent to her. The wife is supposed to respect and honor and obey her husband, because that's who's leading her. So again, I'm not talking to the person that doesn't believe in that core value system. But even if that's not your core value system, you gotta be with somebody that agrees with the core value system, and the value system has to be so solid that it's not a moving goalpost. The problem is when you have a self-righteous person, they're harder on others than they are on themselves. So the rules and the regulations are steadfast when it's to others, but when it applies to them, it's special exceptions, and that's not right. So even if you're a self-righteous person, okay, which I think is the worst, but if you're a self-righteous person, you're supposed to, whatever you're administering in terms of rules and regulations and commands, that's what you're supposed to live by too. You can't tell your wife that you need to do A, B, C, X, Y, Z, and then you can't, but when it comes to you, you can't do that. And your example or your excuse is, well, I make the rules. In fact, I would tell a woman that if you run across a man that's self-righteous and makes his own rules as he goes, that is not somebody that you want to lead you, because circumstantially, he'll switch the whole game up for the sake of him not having to deal with consequences or take accountability or responsibility. And a real man takes accountability and responsibility. Now, when it comes to how things flow down, as I said with the umbrella example, the love is coming unconditionally. How do we know this? Because the Most High has never forsaken us. He's allowed us to go through some things, but we only understand in part. So everything that flows down is unconditional love. We do things, I am sure as sure can be, we do things that make the Most High very upset, and under a lot of circumstances, we would give up on somebody doing that to us. So as men, we're supposed to follow the Most High, whether we feel like it or not. Ignore the way we feel and do what we're supposed to do when we're supposed to do it. Stay on schedule and on time. Because he gives us unconditional love, that should automatically make us benevolent to our wives. Now, typically the wives are dealing with the children more. I'm not saying that the husbands shouldn't deal with the children. I'm just saying typically The wife is working out all of the details that the husband has provisions of. If the husband says, I remember, okay, if the husband says, I want my children to go to STEM classes, science, technology, education, and math, right? Or engineering and math, excuse me. Typically, it's going to be the wife that's making sure that the children get there, the meetings, the details of those things. See, the vision is the main idea, but the work that it takes to do is the details. In a lion pride, the lion is the king of the pride, but who does the most hunting? And food is so vital to them. The lionesses. They do the most hunting. Does that mean that the king of the pride doesn't hunt? No. But it's not dependent upon in terms of the daily, because he's back protecting his pride, while the lioness in groups go off and strategize and get the kill and bring it back for the pride. It's the same thing. So some of you might not like this word, and I'm going to take this from Kevin Samuels, but he's correct. Just listen. Listen. Benevolent dictatorship. See, when you think of dictator, you're thinking of the worst. But when you add in there benevolent dictator, that means that a man is going to rule, but with benevolence. That means he's going to give as much care and as much consideration to his wife and children as possible without compromising the vision for his life. See, the man has this vision for his life. The woman submits her authority to a man and submits her power to the man for the embetterment of what the man is trying to build. This is why, shout out to Jerome Penrose, aka King Nab. He used to always say this, and he's absolutely right. The benevolent dictatorship is really a governance. If you take the two words and put them together, it turns into governance. Now, if you think of governing is taking into account the people that's being governed. Now, we can say yes to what the people want, but we can't say yes all the time, because sometimes the people don't know what they need, and the governance has to make an executive decision that maybe the people don't necessarily like, but it's absolutely necessary. But this is a slippery slope, as we can see in politics today, because if you have an overly amount of benevolence, you're going to get off track. It's not going to be good for anybody. It's going to be front end loaded. It's going to be back end torture. But if you have an abundance or an overly amount of dictatorship, then you're going to have tyranny, and you're going to have the people unsatisfied up front, and it's going to be bad on the back end. So the combo word of benevolent dictatorship is simply governance. And the balanced governance is ruling with whom is being ruled in mind, with compassion, with understanding. Think about that. If you're a Bible or a Quran, I'm going to speak this. If you believe in the Bible, you see examples of benevolence from the Most High, mercy for the Most High. It's not always benevolence and mercy, though. Sometimes it's stern, it's wrath, and sometimes that needs to take place from the Most High. But the example of how men are supposed to conduct themselves towards their wives is the Most High leading by example. The example of how a mother is supposed to be with her children is an example from the husband. That's the way it should be. And if it's a balanced flow of unconditional love flowing down and flowing up unconditional respect, then you have a working continuum that's going to be fruitful for each other. And sometimes the direction that needs to be taken up front, it doesn't feel so good. The process isn't always enjoyable. As a head, we want the process to be as painless as possible, but we understand sometimes it's going to be painful. It's going to be painful. Think about if a person is fat and they need to get in shape. Well, it's going to be painful in the beginning. But when you find the stride, when you start seeing the results coming in, you're going to have an appreciation for the process, which is what I like to call finding the eye of the storm. The storm walls is the worst place to be. But when you can find the eye of the storm that you're going through, that's where it's going to be the most peaceful. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on around you, but you're focused and concentrating on your assignment and your path of where you got to walk. And if you're on schedule and on time, you will move in the appropriate way with the storm in such a way where, for the most part, you're going to be in the eye of the storm. So people around you may look at you and say, man, you're going through a lot. How can you go through it? But they don't understand that unshakable, unbreakable peace you found on in your process. And the only time you're going through a process and it just feels like it's killing you is because you're out of alignment. That's what your value system is for. Your value system is to help you stay in alignment. You drive a car. Guess what? When you drive that car, it drives straight when you let your hands off of it. But keep driving that car, and after a while, it'll drift over to the side, even when you try to straighten up the wheel. Why? Because it needs a realignment. And nobody on this earth, man, woman, boy, or girl, is exempt from realignment. But are you allowing yourself to get realignment or not? You cannot allow yourself to be too busy to be realigned. And if the one that is ahead of you is telling you need realignment, you should have a submission of authority to that person, where you're saying, this person loves me, this person is benevolent to me, this person knows what's best for me, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that. Get that realignment. Because if the children are not in alignment, for an example, my wife takes care of my children, right? She's with them most of the time. And guess what? Sometimes those children are not in alignment, and my wife can get them in alignment. But there are times where my wife, she may have a challenge in trying to get them aligned. She looks to me, and most of the time, I don't even have to say anything. I just appear, and they get back in alignment. It's because the dynamics that we're doing and working is balanced. I don't have to be all over my kids, beating them and spanking them and doing all of the stuff like that. No. We're supposed to use our creativity and our connectivity to be able to get the results that we want to achieve. But sometimes we're doing the right things, but it's just an alignment that needs to be made. And sometimes I have to show my presence. And most of the time, thankfully, that's all I have to do. But I'd say that is the case. I'll give you another example. There's this guy that me and my wife, we follow on Instagram. It's a Caribbean couple. And this guy, he has a daughter with his wife, and she can't get that child to go to sleep for nothing. But he can come in there and he can say, go to sleep, my child. And that child, infant, will go to sleep. Why is that? Is it because he's such a flex? No. I believe, knowing what I know, it's because of his alignment. And it's okay that she may need him for that. He's there to be able to do that. So what am I trying to say about this is you need to make sure that your foundation is rooted in solid and not sinking sand. You think you think that you moving the goalposts is going to be beneficial to you now, but it's going to be harmful to you tomorrow. And you don't know when tomorrow, I'm not talking about literal tomorrow, but I'm talking about figuratively tomorrow. Because tomorrow you don't know when it's going to come. And when it comes, if you didn't do what you were supposed to do the day before, you're going to reap the harvest of the tomorrow of it. And that's why I say don't ever go down a road unless you look down it as far as you can. Don't ever go down a road unless you can look down it as far as you can. See everything that you need to see on that road, every pothole, every bump, every hurdle, every challenge, traffic, everything, and plan ahead before you embark on that journey. You must look ahead while looking directly where you're stepping. And that's the duality and the balance of a man and a woman. A woman's more detail oriented by nature. A man is more main idea oriented than a woman. But together it's important because you can have the topics all you want lined up. But if you don't have the literature about the subsidiaries within the topic, you don't have a book. You don't have a story to tell. So like that's how I write books. When I write a book, I start from a macro vision of what do I ultimately want. I cannot function like this if I am in my feelings. So I ultimately say, what do I ultimately want to achieve? I want to talk about this particular subject. So now that I'm talking about this particular subject, what are some of the things that I want to hit on in this particular subject? And I try to come up with as many as I can. And then I select what I feel are the best subjects to talk about, if not all of them. And then once I have the subjects to talk about, I have the subsidiaries of it. I have the different things that I'm going to talk about within each subject. And then when I get to the subsidiaries, it helps me focus on the details of what I need to talk about in the subsidiaries. For an example, if I say I want to talk about what it takes to be a student athlete. I can relate to that because I was a student athlete. So I can say, hey, I want to go to the best school. I went to Ohio State. So I want to go to the best school. Okay, well, what do I need to do to go to Ohio State? So I start looking at all of the different things and workouts and things that I need to do educationally and all that other stuff like that. And this is what I need to do. And this is what I need to be. And this is the who, what, when, where, why, and how of everything that I need to be and do. Once I have that set, then I come down even more and focus and say, okay, for these 12 things that I have to do, let's talk about number one. Let's talk about exercise. So then I start writing down my exercises. I start writing down the sets. I start writing down the reps. I start writing down what days of the week I'm going to do it. I get it down to a finite detail of as incremental as dust can be. And then I know what I need to do not only on a yearly basis, but a quarterly basis, but on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, on a minute basis, on a second basis. Now I have the outline all lined up. Guess what I do now? I can now, with the framework, put my head down and focus on the finite details of what I'm supposed to do. That means when I get in there, I'm supposed to be, let's say I'm doing a set of bench press and I want to do 10, 8, 6, 4, right? And I say the weight's going to be, the weight's going to be, for simple math, 300 pounds. No, let's just say it's going to be 225 pounds for 10 reps. It's going to be 245 pounds for 8 reps, and I go up, right? Well, I know what I have to do now. Now I got to focus on my technique. I just can't just throw it up 10 times. I got to have the correct form. I got to have I can't cheat the workout. I might have to do some negatives where I come down real slow and try to pop it off my chest so that I can maximize each rep, because every rep has to be intentional. But I don't even get to that point of even thinking like that unless I have the big picture. And this is what y'all need to understand. I got that not from my thought process, but I got that from reading the word. The word says he's the author and the finisher of our faith. He created us from the end to the beginning. So the blueprint of how I'm supposed to be as a man is given to me by none other than the one that I believe in the Most High. The blueprint for how a wife should be towards her children should come from the benevolence of her husband. Because even though a husband is supposed to be a provider and a protector, he's still supposed to be nurturing to his wife. His wife is pumping out so much nurturing by nature, she can get depleted too. So a man is supposed to be present to give the nurturing to her. Even though that's not his primary role, it's still something that he's supposed to do. And see, here's the thing. When she's obedient, she gets an opportunity for more nurturing. Because nurturing is not a blessing. Nurturing is favorable. And everybody doesn't get favor. And how do you get favor? Obedience. It's how I get favor from the Most High. If I'm doing what the Most High asked me to do, no matter how I feel, and I do it with a sincere heart, I have the best opportunity for him to grant me the desires of my heart. If I don't do what the Most High tells me to do, does that mean he's going to throw me to the wolves? Not necessarily. But why would I put myself in that situation? See, I don't live for the people. I live for the Most High. So the people who live for people, they do the right things when everybody's watching. But when nobody's watching, they go to doing all of the things and all of the things that they want to do that necessarily isn't right. But see, when you serve the Most High, you know he is omnipotent. You know he's omnipresent. So you know there's no escape. There's no privacy from him. So you might as well do the right thing if that's your value system. Same thing with a wife when it comes to her children. She's going to be favorable to one child over the other, depending on obedience. That's acceptable. Does that mean, I'm going to feed this obedient child, but I'm going to let the other one starve? No. Unconditional love is giving the essentials of what's needed. Food, water, shelter, those are the essentials. You provide that no matter what. But these red bottoms, expensive trips, fancy dinners, those things are favorable. Create an environment for the one you're serving, and they will want to do those things to you because you should have already made a decision in the beginning that this person is benevolent. Benevolent enough to follow. And don't be unrealistic with your expectations of benevolence. Benevolence is extremely important all the way down. In the Bible it says, respectfully, in the Bible it says, how can you love me and you don't keep my commands? That's a clear pathway of helping you understand that the only way to love the Most High is to be obedient. So the only way, wives, for you to love your husband is to be obedient. Children, the only way to show that you love your parents is to be obedient. When you're disobedient, you're essentially saying, I don't love you. I didn't make the rules. I didn't make the rules. The example flowed from the top. And sometimes the blessings, which is standard, feel so good, you think that you earned them. You think that you are entitled to them. That's wrong. Because the example in the Bible shows that the Mashiach says that I didn't come to be served, but I came to serve. So if the Mashiach came to serve instead of being served, then as husbands, we're supposed to serve our wives within the vision. Wives, we're supposed to serve our children within the vision. Because the Most High serves us within his vision. And the vision of a man, of a husband, is submitted to the Most High. The vision of a wife, I'm not saying women don't have visions, they do. But a woman should submit her vision and authority to her husband. Once you submit your vision to someone, you ride it out, good or bad. Because that's what you expect your children to do. You expect your children, ladies, to ride for you, ride out for you, ride out with you. Good times and bad times. Whether they feel like doing it, whether they don't feel like doing it. And it's quite natural when you see that they are being obedient and doing what they're supposed to do. I don't know about you, but in my wife's benevolence and in my benevolence, it makes me say, man, they've been so good. I want to do something for them. So I listen to the things that they want and desire. And then without being asked, I get them for them. My wife gets them for the children. And it's a reminder, hey, if you rocking for me, I'm going to ride with you. But if you're not rocking for me, I'll do the bare minimum for you. And the bare minimum may be great, but you couldn't possibly be satisfied with just the bare minimum when you know it's so much more. You know that life is supposed to not just be existing, but you're supposed to have life and have it more abundantly. Obedience is the reason. It's you sit around and you go, oh, the devil did this, oh, the devil did that. No. The enemy is and always has been the inner me. See, the war is doing what's right and doing what's wrong and what your heart is leaning on. Because you could do right, but your heart's not in it. It's like doing nothing at all. So you got to have a sincere heart to doing right. The Most High said he wants you to serve him with all your heart, all your might, all your strength, all your being. Because he doesn't want you laboring to love him. I don't want my wife laboring to love me. In fact, I always say my wife always has the choice to hit the door. Listen, no matter how, I don't do righteousness for your sake. I do it for the Most High's sake. Now, do I mess up and do wrong? Yeah, I got some habits that need to break in small, large, and medium categories. I'm not perfect, but I do strive to be perfect. Well, why strive to be perfect if you can't be perfect? Because that's the bar. Why am I aiming so low? If I make the excuse, we all make excuses. If I make the excuse, we all make mistakes, I'm already setting the bar low, and it gives me a freedom to just go ahead and make mistakes because we all make mistakes. But if you start telling yourself, every decision that I get to, when I get to it, I'm going to conscientiously make the right choice, no matter how it makes me feel. That puts you closer to perfection. Because there'll be times where you think, hey, listen, sincerely, I'm trying to make the right decision. And boom, you do it, and it turns out to not be the right decision. That's just, at the end of the day, you being out of touch with the Most High. That's why you're supposed to stay in touch with him. You know, some people say their prayers and say amen. I don't do that. Because amen seems like a closure, right? I say so be it. But if I'm always supposed to be in touch with the Most High, it doesn't have to look like it, like when I'm walking around and doing regular stuff. But if I'm always keeping a line of communication and always talking to the Most High, then I'm always under his protection. I'm always under his guidance. So whenever I get to a decision, if I'm about to make the right decision, the closer I get to him is the best opportunity for him to say, no, that's not the right way to do it. You should do it this way. And because I submitted my authority to him, there's no better way than to say, okay, you know what's best for me. And does that mean even when you make the right decision that you're not going to go through something because of the decision? No. So don't think that doing the right thing all the time means you're not going to ever go through anything. But you'll only go through what you're supposed to go through. And he will never give you more than you can bear. Some of you have things that you have a life and it's just too much to bear. But you say, well, God would never give me more than I can bear. But he never gave you any of that stuff that you're dealing with. Some of the stuff you're dealing with is because you gave it to yourself. And he gives you the free will to be able to do that. But in a benevolence, he says, all right, you have your free will to do whatever you want to do, but these are the things that are going to happen if you choose this path, and these are the things that's going to happen to you if you choose any other path. Because he said is his way. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. So he's telling us there's only one way to do things, but he gives you the freedom to choose whatever you want to do. And sometimes he will allow you to choose those things because he's like, well, you don't want to listen to me. So think about the Israelites when they came out of Egypt. They were so disobedient. He could have waved his hand and made things right, but he didn't even do that. He just said, all right, off to the wilderness you go. And they stayed there for 40 years. You telling me he couldn't have fixed them in one good moment? Yeah, but he would have been going against his own principle of giving them free will. So he gives you free will, but the benevolence of him, the wisdom of him, is telling you what'll happen. Go read Deuteronomy chapter 28, and he's telling them if you keep his commands, this is what'll happen. If you don't keep his commands, that is what'll happen. But he doesn't say you better do it this way. He's just telling you, hey, listen, if you go down this path, this is what you can expect if you do what I say. And if you don't go down the path that I tell you to go down, then this is what you can expect when you don't do what I say. If you're in your feelings, you may decide an alternative path, and he'll let you do it. But if you just take your feelings and put them aside, and then you just filter everything that you're thinking through the logic and the wisdom that he's giving you, you'll make the decision that might not be popular up front, might not feel good up front, but the promise is what he told you would come if you do that decision. And some of you, especially the uncovered women out there, because women are always supposed to be covered. I don't care what you say. The reason that they're always supposed to be covered is because they are loyal to their feelings. That's why they need to submit to an authority. And he's given man to be her authority. Not all men, but the right kind of man. If you believe in where a man is going, you believe in what a man's core value system is, you have the authority to elect him or not. What we see a lot of our women do today is they elect a bad boy, and they'll put the good guy in the friend zone. Why? Because their feelings is opposite of the will of the Most High. See, the feelings is a reflection of the flesh. The opposite is the spirit, and the spirit is trying to guide you into all truth. So really the battle is really your flesh versus your spirit. And the spirit isn't even interested in the fight. The spirit is so locked in that's given to you. That's so locked in into leading you in the way, the truth, and the life, that it's just holding his hand on the forehead of the flesh, and the flesh is just erratically swinging. When you give the authority to the spirit that's been given to you by the Most High to lead you into all truth, to lead you into the correct way, the correct truth, and the correct life, it's amazing what happens to the flesh. It will rev up because it's hungry for feeding itself. But eventually you starve it out long enough, it calms down because it loses energy, and then it dies. And when your flesh dies to your spirit, then your spirit gains even more power, because now it has a remote control to your flesh. What does that look like? It looks like you getting in better shape, you eating the things that you're supposed to eat, you're saying the things that you're supposed to say, you're doing the things you're supposed to do, because it's just too weak to fight. And when you think you've been doing good and you give your flesh a little treat, all you're doing is giving it more energy to wake up and fight some more. And all it takes is a moment for you to just disregard and do what your flesh says. It's like providing a hungry person a full meal. So for a period of time until it's time to eat again, they've got All of that is fuel and energy to burn. So you just created, like I said, the enemy is the enemy. You just created a stronger enemy by giving and feeding it. And when you do live a life of excellency and you decide that you're going to just do what you're supposed to do all the time and follow the spirit that's given to you, I'm not saying that you're not going to be rewarded with some with feast from the most high, because you will. I'm not saying that there are not going to be times that you're going to be like, for an example, your flesh. Let's just say you say no to all of these women out here and everything like that, and you do what you're supposed to do right by your wife. The most high may bless the womb and the sex drive of your wife, and your wife just may turn into an animal and give you all kinds of hot, you know what, and you become overwhelmed. But that's favor. Because I'm going to tell you, I heard Bobby Shmurda say this, and he's just as right. He said there's two types of vajayjay. He said the worn out vajayjay and the non-worn out vajayjay. And a lot of times we're acting so stupid over women. They're so beautiful. Oh, look at their long weave, their eyelashes, this, that, and the other. They went and got their butts done, their breasts done. A lot of times, most of those women have been ran through. And you get to lay down with them, and the intercourse is left to be desired. Right? But you can also, but on the flip side, you can mess with a woman and she ain't into doing all of that. She just into taking care of herself, doing what she's supposed to do, being exclusive, being feminine, this, that, and the other, whatever the case may be. And then you lay down with that person and it's an out of body experience. And so, fellas, if you find somebody that is submitting to your authority, somebody that's following you, somebody that's faithful to you, somebody that is feminine, somebody that is fertile, somebody that's cooperative, somebody that's exclusive, not out there showing all their body. I'm not saying that she can't wear anything sexy, but I'm talking about somebody that's not out there showing everything they got going on, right? Somebody that can be outside, and if they walk into a church building or something like that, they'd be fine with what they're wearing. So when we're sitting here and we're talking about this situation with a woman like that, fellas, you're halfway home. All you have to do is honor her by the way you live and the benevolence thereof. You think for 1 second the Most High isn't going to splash that grace and splash that flavor, splash that favor onto your marriage? Absolutely. Because the righteous is never forsaken. And no, you don't have to tell anybody, but you could be walking with the Most High and having animalistic 50 shades of gray type intercourse with your wife. And at the end of the day, the old adage is full stomach, empty balls. Now, what if you got a wife that's doing that for you? Don't be tricked that, oh, but it's probably some more out there. Probably, man, I don't care what ethnicity it is. I don't care. It's two categories. Stop going crazy over the cat. Don't do it. And don't go crazy over the girl who's flexible and on Instagram showing you how flexible she is, doing splits and twerking and whatever the case may be, because if she ran through, it ain't gonna be good. Just look at the results that she's proving in her life. She don't have no kids. She ain't got married. She's so fine. She's so flexible. Why she ain't married? Why she ain't have kids? Oh, it's because she... No, I don't want to hear that. If she of marital age, she ain't turning down somebody that's good for her if she's in her right mind. But if she's in her mindset of the good ones, she's going to put in the friend zone, and the bad boys, she's going to run and chase, man, she's ran through. And a lot of women don't realize that. All a guy got to do is just, he don't even have to ask if a woman's ran through. He don't. I used to think, how many men you been with, this, that, and the other. You can tell by their behavior. There are even some clowns out there that talk about the men that I'm with when I go on vacation don't count. The men that I'm with and I've used the condom with don't count. Okay. You just sit there and say, okay. For you making a statement like that, that just lets me further know you ran through. And you don't got to tell them you ran through, babe. You just quietly, gracefully bow out. How come you ain't picking up the phone and calling me? Just got busy. I'm just at a busy point in my life. I'm sorry. You ain't gotta say nothing to disrespect them or anything like that. But fellas, what I'm saying is, as I said in the beginning, ladies and gentlemen, a wife is a wife that's already a wife. A husband is a husband that's already a husband. The same ways that you see like a wife that's already a wife, she likes to cook. Why? Because she likes to cook. She cleans. Why? Because she likes to clean. She likes to watch her nieces and nephews. She likes to take them to school. She likes to take them shopping. She likes to do things for them. She likes to keep them without being asked. These are types of characteristics of a wife. That's just a fraction of them. But think about what a wife does and see how she implements that being single. A husband, he knows how to provide for himself, and he knows how to have an abundance for himself. He knows how to protect himself. He knows how to protect himself in extreme situations. Maybe he's in combat. Maybe he's boxing. Maybe he's doing martial arts. Maybe he's studying judo, or he's doing Tai Chi. I don't care. He's just doing something to improve the way he protects himself. Okay? Maybe he goes to the shooting range. Maybe he goes and maybe he does charitable work. Maybe he's doing mentorship. Those are the types of things and characteristics of husbands. So that when you become a husband or you become an actual wife to someone, it's not an adjustment for you. So when you get to that 5 to 8 year period and the honeymoon phase is over and things are getting a little rough, you're not saying to yourself, oh my gosh, I lost who I was. I forgot who I was. I'm so miserable in this situation. I have to leave. I have to get out of this situation because I got to go recover and rejuvenate myself. Who have I become? Because you were already. Then you get through that rough patch, and then the Most High bless you even more. Because all marriages are going to go through tough times. But is the tough times self-inflicted, or is the tough times naturally inflicted? I don't know about you. I don't want to go through self-inflicted tough times with my wife, because we done been through tough times without the infliction. We done already been through the tough times without that infliction. So I'm going to wrap up here, guys, but you get what I'm trying to say. Apply what I'm trying to say. I'm not telling you anything to hurt you. And if you're not a Christian, or you're not a Muslim, or you're not of any religious belief, and listen, I'm not saying that I'm a Christian or a Muslim either. That's my privacy. But what I'm using that as an example of is because I know most of the population are that. Wood and stone. Okay? So I'm just trying to say that those are examples of foundations that people can build on to give them a quality life. And I'm all for, if you're an asset and not a liability to this world, I'm all for you doing whatever you're doing. Whether you're a Buddhist, a Muslim, a Christian, Judaism, whatever it is, majority or minority, if it is making you a quality, sound human being that's an asset to everything that you touch, go ahead, man. Do your thing. Do your thing. We don't need to come together on some religious type stuff. We need to come together on some more, we need to come together on some ethnic type stuff. Especially when they look like you. And you know what I mean by that. People have the freedom to choose whatever they want to choose. And nobody should tell anybody, for choosing that, you're going here. Or choosing this, you're going there. No. It's your life. It's your choice. And I'm not here to sway you in one direction or the other. But what I am sitting here telling you is, without a foundation, you are a flotation device. You will blow all over the place. Your goalposts will always move. You will at best have average. You will not have an abundant life because you're not rooted in anything. If you don't stand for something, you're going to fall for anything. And so you don't necessarily have to be of those religions to stand for something, but you got to stand for something. And it's got to apply in the same way you want it to apply to everybody else. It's got to apply to you. So if you can find somebody that agree with what you agree with as a man, that's what you should do. You should find somebody who has a value system like yourself. And if you've got a terrible value system, it is up to you to change your values. But when you change your values like clay, it needs to get hard. It needs to stick. It needs to be solid. It needs to be immovable through all storms. The people over in the tropical environments that face a lot of hurricanes, they don't have homes built like people who don't live in those environments. Why? Because they know that there are storms that are coming and it needs to be able to withstand storms. So in a lot of times in the inlands in the United States, in the intercontinental USA, you have homes built one way. But go over to like the islands and you'll see those homes built in a different way. They're built with concrete. Why? Because they've got sometimes to deal with category 3, 4, and 5 hurricanes. And even when they are successfully able to weather those storms, there's still sometimes some damage. So in your marriage, even if you're rooted in solid foundation, you're going to still have storms. And even navigating the storms as appropriately as possible, you're still going to suffer some damage. You're still going to have to get out and you're going to have to do some patchwork. You're still going to have to go and you're going to have to work on what you have. See, the mindset is you think once you get a brand new home, you never have to address it. But a house starts to settle after 5 to 7 years. You're going to get settlement cracks. So there's going to be issues with your foundation at some point. It's going to be issues with your floors. Could be issues with your roof. Well, you think there's so many roofing companies. It's big business. They're always going to be in business as long as there's homes. People can't get around with not having a roof. That thing blow away, they got to get it done. If the foundation of the floor is falling in, hey, they got to get a floor repair. Somebody that does floors to come in and fix the floors. If they having wall issues, they got to bring somebody in to do the walls. Paint, they got to bring a painter in. They got to bring a contractor in to get this work done. And so just because you do the right things, I'm not saying you're not going to go through anything, but you're going to have to do the routine maintenance in your life. And that is going to take work. Don't think your obedience is going to allow you to be lazy. In fact, it's going to make you maybe not run as hard, but it's going to make you work consistently. Last thing I'm going to say is the difference between a boot camp to get in shape and somebody just doing the routine maintenance every day is the person that's doing the routine maintenance every day isn't necessarily sweating and killing themselves, and they will get gradual results. The person that does the boot camp might get fast results, but they're not going to maintain that. And guess what? When they don't maintain that, once they stop doing it and get to where they need to get to, guess what they're typically going to do? They're going to go back into who they was, because that's not normal. So don't put yourself in a situation where you have to do boot camp. Put yourself in a situation where you're doing everything you're supposed to do on a daily basis. Life is not about you laying around and resting. Life is about you getting up and getting on your job. You don't have to run to get into shape, but you can walk to get into shape. If you walk 10,000 steps every day, no way you stay the same. All right, so I'm going to get out on that. I love you guys, man. I appreciate you guys. Hopefully you can follow my page, subscribe to my page. I will be posting more content like this and other things. So make sure you hit the notification bell so YouTube doesn't have to tell you when I have a video. You can automatically see when I have a video and you can check me out. Be nice in the comments if you would, please. If you've got any honest criticism, I welcome that. But be nice. Talk to me nice. Talk to me the way you want to be talked to, if at all possible, okay? And lastly, like this video and share this video with your loved ones, because sometimes we just need to hear something from a certain source. And I can't reach everybody, but I can reach somebody's. And maybe there's somebody that you need to be reached. You haven't been successful at reaching it because you maybe not designed to reach that person. We're all ministers. I'm not trying to cross over and appeal to everybody. I'm only supposed to be appealing to who I was designed to appeal to. And as long as I stay authentic to myself and true to myself, I'll reach the people that I'm supposed to reach if I'm obedient. And it's the same thing with you. But there's some times where there's people in my life that I just can't get to because a prophet is never accepted in their own hometown. And I'm not calling myself a prophet. I'm just stating that from the Bible. Sometimes I need somebody else to tell somebody that I love for them to get on track. And you're no exemption. So please share my video. All right. I love you guys. Until next time, see you soon.